I hate to be the one to break it to you, but you have talent. You've got a gift for art. Yours is an enduring love of mine, and I cherish and recall it fondly. Much obliged. Among Hollywood's many lovely love stories, there's one that's both endearing and eerie, a couple's unbreakable bond after more than 2 decades of dating. The film chronicles the romance between the Godfather stars Diane Keaton and Al Pacino, who were inseparable on screen, but whose hearts could never truly connect. Diane Keaton begged Al Pacino to marry her because she loved him so much. She possessed remarkable courage, independence, and a strong will. Pacino, the man whose heart could change in an instant and whose eyes are as tranquil as a lake, chose to quietly depart. There was a time when they lived together, made secret vows, and shed tears of love. However, each of them ultimately chose a different path. Both the beginning and the end were missing. All that existed was an eerie connection that has persisted to this day. Do you share my fascination with Al Pacino's resolute stare, or Diane Keaton's intelligence and independence? If so, please share your thoughts in the comment section. Come with us as we uncover the truth about the spotlight, an unnamed love, and a never-ending breakup. Even after declaring "I love you forever," Al Pacino was unable to maintain his relationship with Diane Keaton. Just how awful was her mood? To comprehend why they were never able to complete each other's works, we must return to their pre-meeting childhoods and creative journeys, which subtly molded their love for one another and their ability to let go. Diane Keaton came from a devout Catholic family in Los Angeles. Dorothy, his mother, had won a beauty pageant in her hometown, and he worked as a construction engineer. But in order to be a mother full-time, she abandoned her ambition of being an actress. As a little girl, Diane witnessed a stunning woman confined to a kitchen and vowed she would never be just like her. Having made up her mind at an early age, Diane would be a free woman. Many men found her intimidating because she was unique, fearless, and completely self-assured. However, Diane's mother had cast an unhelpful shadow over her, which made her weak as well. She yearned for a faithful love, the kind that doesn't pass but remains. Having a home, a partner, and some stability in an unpredictable world like the art world can be challenging. She also noticed, or rather she believed she noticed, that quality in Al Pacino's eyes. The story that Al Pacino told was completely different. He was born into a poor Italian-American family in New York City's East Harlem. He was 2 years old when his parents divorced. Rose, his mother, raised him in a small apartment in the Bronx while she worked part-time jobs. Pacino lacked an exemplary family figure. On the contrary, he spent his formative years in urban areas, where he initially felt at home among the bustling streets, historic theaters, and antique movie theaters. He would never be willing to give up that one thing. The stage captivated him at a young age. In order to keep playing, Pacino did everything from sleeping in parks to delivering newspapers and working as an usher at the movies. He had to construct a shell in order to survive in that world. He was profound without being intimate, and he was nice without being sociable. To Pacino, being attached meant giving up freedom, so he was most afraid of that. He could not have survived without his freedom. Both individuals are aware of how to run, but one of them wants to cling on. Although they are both lonely and in love, they both know that love hurts. It wasn't simply a chance meeting between two young actors in a fantastic 1971 film when they worked together on the Godfather set. It was as if two spirits, who had been distant from the concept of salvation for quite some time, encountered each other at first glance. But sometimes, just when people think they have hope, fate takes it away. For some reason, I still remember him saying that they wanted to fire Pacino and get rid of him. Because he lacks confidence, they couldn't stop making fun of him. Afterwards, Diane Keaton and Al Pacino initially crossed paths in 1971 while filming The Godfather. Back then, neither of their names was particularly famous. Pacino was a relative unknown, having recently left Broadway, while Keaton was a famous solo comic actress. Something calmed down, though, as they locked eyes in the dramatic milieu of an old mafia film. The connection felt both solid and precarious, as if destiny had begun to weave a new tale for them apart from the lens of the camera. I fell in love with Pacino right away. Diane Keaton has said in several talks. They had a passionate relationship, she told him. He was funny, charming, had a strange good looks, and talked non-stop. He looked like a lost child or a crazy genius, and I couldn't take my eyes off of him. For Pacino, who kept to himself, this was not the case. While he kept his feelings about Keaton private at the time, they are palpable to anyone who has seen the making of videos or heard friends discuss them. They seem to be connected in a way that words couldn't describe. There was an undeniable gravitational pull between them, beyond what could be described by physical attraction or harmonious working relationships. At first, they were silently in love, but as they watched Godfather Parts 2 and 3, their love blossomed. As if neither could truly let go, they fell in love, broke up, and then reconnected multiple times in the 1970s. Diane Keaton then understood that her feelings for Al Pacino went beyond a simple adolescent crush. Because her longing was so gentle, she was willing to wait over 20 years for a response. Perhaps that response never made it through. Pacino was aware of it, which was the worst part. He remained the same though. He was still mysterious, beautiful, distant, and uncommitted. It all turned into an endless pursuit after that, with Diane perpetually on the run. The friendship between Diane Keaton and Al Pacino stood out among the many Hollywood love stories. The public didn't take notice. Neither an official engagement announcement nor any adorable red carpet photos were released. Like a melody that played, faded, and then began again, it continued quietly and disorganizedly for 20 years. Prior to their initial collaboration on The Godfather, they refrained from discussing their romance. Keaton was involved in additional partnerships apart from them. She dated Warren Beatty, Mel Gibson, and Woody Allen before moving in with them. No matter what, the name Pacino would stick with her forever. She stated once, all three of the Godfathers were about the same thing. It was Al. It was incredibly simple, really. While all this was going on, Al Pacino persisted in evading responsibility. Every relationship he ever had, including the one with Diane, ended in heartbreak. They thought each breakup would be their last, and they did it multiple times. A lot of people in the industry said that Keaton was the only one who could be patient enough to soothe Pacino when he was angry, astute enough to avoid making him worry needlessly, and caring enough to wait for something she knew would never come. In the late 80s, while filming in Rome for Part 3 of The Godfather, everything changed. It was widely believed that after all these years, Pacino would finally pop the question to Keaton and propose marriage. However, unanticipated events occurred. A marriage or a breakup was Diane's ultimatum to him. It was not Al Pacino who chose her. Towards the story's conclusion, there was no thrilling battle. There was an eerie stillness instead. Just as Diane was learning that her dad had a brain tumor, she became depressed and began therapy. In contrast, Pacino discreetly departed and did not turn around. For those who wanted an explanation, she merely stated, I kept asking him things. I wanted more. It was heartbreaking because I wished he could love me as much as he loved him. Loving someone too much might lead them to abandon you. Diane Keaton and Al Pacino's romance was like a musical duet. One performer would take center stage while the other subtly moved from one spot to another. Despite feeling touched and grateful, Pacino chose to remain motionless and watch love elude him in this relationship, in contrast to Keaton, who was constantly the one to move forward, hope, and be ready. Diane remarked that Pacino possessed the qualities of a brilliant lost soul. He was handsome, contradictory, intelligent, and reserved. His stunning good looks, intelligence, and lack of intelligence were all compliments she gave him. A heart unprepared to be bound would not be held by those words. It wasn't a lack of love that led him to tie the knot. Rather, it was his belief that a happy ending would compel him to remain. According to Diane, who admitted later, I always chose the wrong guys. I needed as much as they needed me, and that's never a good recipe for a relationship. She was self-aware enough to know that she lacked the stability and nurturing qualities necessary to be a quality life partner. She loved too much, and that was the root cause of all her hurts, but she couldn't see it. Meanwhile, Pacino remained single throughout his life. He never tied the knot, but he fathered 4 children from 3 affairs. According to his friends, Pacino couldn't sleep at night because he was terrified of being tied down and that marriage would ruin everything that was beautiful in his life. Maybe he was also aware that he didn't love anyone sufficiently to commit to them in a conventional sense. They were together for 20 years, but neither Diane Keaton nor Al Pacino were able to hold on to the man they loved for more than a season. It was different for them. They both lost. Whenever a romantic relationship ended in a no, whoever remained behind bore the brunt of the consequences. Diane channeled her pain into her characters, who were independent, humorous, and strong but who suffered from chronic loneliness. That emptiness was brought to large stages by Al Pacino. Even though he's well into his 80s, he feels like he doesn't truly belong anywhere. When Diane Keaton and Al Pacino's relationship ended, there was no drama, infidelity, or third parties involved. On the contrary, one partner retreated due to commitment anxiety, and the other ultimately decided to release. However, the true question persisted once the lights dimmed and the applause ceased. Who had experienced more complete living after all that had transpired? After her split with Pacino, Diane Keaton avoided any public dating for the rest of her life. She has not been in a relationship for over 35 years. She adopted a boy and a girl when she was in her 50s. The interviewee stated, "No one ever asked me to marry them. Perhaps they've come to terms with the fact that I'm not exactly a lovable soul." Furthermore, she expressed her gratitude for not getting married. "I don't think it would have been right for me." Diane Keaton became one of Hollywood's most successful women without a man by her side. She won an Oscar, a Golden Globe, and an award from the American Film Institute, AFI. What about Al Pacino, the man Keaton once asked to marry her? She became a symbol of mature beauty, intelligence, and self-confidence. Despite the pain of love, she never lost her humor or self-confidence. He has 4 children from 3 different women, but he has never been married either. The longest of his relationships was with Beverly D'Angelo, which lasted a few years and produced twins Anton and Olivia. His other relationships with Martha Keller, Lucilla Polak, and Nor Alfola, the mother of his youngest son who was born in 2023, came and went like a series of unfinished scenes from a movie. When asked why he never got married, Pacino said in a low voice, "I avoid doors that might lead to pain." It was a simple line, but it stuck with me. He may have kept everything far away because he knew he couldn't make someone happy. Keaton chose solitude, while Pacino chose not to be attached. In the tumultuous world of show business, it is not often that a relationship can go from love to heartbreak and then quietly blossom into something based on deep respect and a lasting link. However, Al Pacino and Diane Keaton managed to pull it off. They weren't dating anymore, and they weren't even really friends. They were the only ones who understood a part of history that no one else could, and their relationship remained strong as if there had never been a real breakup. In 2017, Al Pacino paid tribute to Diane Keaton at the American Film Institute's Lifetime Achievement Awards ceremony. The two had not loved in nearly 30 years, but in Pacino's eyes that night, time seemed to stand still. In his speech, he recalled the times Keaton had made him laugh before interviews, reminisced about Rome, and shared bits of behind-the-scenes life that they had only ever shared. Towards the end of his speech, he paused to catch his breath, and then he told the audience, "I love you forever." Diane Keaton smiled, but she didn't cry. Maybe she had finished crying. Their friendship is rarely mentioned in the media. There are no pictures of them having dinner or walking the red carpet together, but in conversations they still speak about each other in the most lovely ways. Pacino said that Keaton was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. Keaton said that Pacino was the most beautiful face she had ever seen. They decided not to hurt each other again, not to go back, not to lie about what happened. They let go of each other, but always had each other in their hearts. The love that binds them together. Though they never truly parted ways, Diane Keaton and Al Pacino's show did come to a close. What unfolds is more than a tale of a doomed romance. It heralds a greater historical tragedy as 2 distinct, self-reliant and ambitious individuals attempt to love one another in a world that does not tolerate compromise. Keaton and Pacino are both artists, and their memories and past hurts propel them. Pacino had no father figure in his life, came from a poor family in the Bronx, and spent his time scrounging for stage parts on the streets of New York. Keaton, on the other hand, inherited a strong desire to prove herself artistically and personally from a home where her mother was an ambitious but unfulfilled woman. She feared being average and being put in charge, but she also wanted to be deeply loved. According to Keaton, "I loved Pacino not for who he was but for what he represented, a lost soul that needed saving." Pacino loved Diane, but he never stated that he was willing to change for her. Love had always terrified him because it could take away his freedom. The cost was too high for security that he didn't feel he had in his life. The two were together, but Keaton wanted a place and Pacino wanted to be apart from her. They became close through art, but it was also art. Their fixation on roles, careers, and artistic freedom that ultimately drove a wedge between them. In the end, each person went their own way, and Diane became a symbol of strong women who don't need a guy to complete them. He never felt love was worth giving up a part of himself to. Pacino grew increasingly estranged and unattached, to the point where he seemed to belong solely on screen. It's likely that they had both known for some time that a great love doesn't necessarily accompany a great calling. That some people are meant to love each other deeply but never live together. Diane Keaton and Al Pacino, 2 real-life Hollywood legends, loved each other in a way that few would. They were truthful. They waited years. They were alone with their thoughts, and they made difficult decisions. Despite this, their love didn't lead to anything. There was no happy ending or public wedding. All that remained was the phrase, "I love you forever." But was it truly a profound love? Or was it merely a dream that only Diane Keaton entered while Pacino remained outside? Even though Diane Keaton has been single for more than half her life, Al Pacino has never been in love with anyone else. Additionally, no one has ever made Diane Keaton talk as much in interviews. Some loves don't need names. Some ends don't need weddings. Some pains don't have names because they were never really finished or maybe never really started. When you ask someone to marry you and they say no,
Is that still love or a mistake? Even after more than 20 years, that person may still talk about you with teary eyes. Was it real, or is it just sorrow that they didn't stay together? They never broke up though, because love might not end when someone goes. It starts when we have the courage to keep going, even if our hearts are open. What do you think about Diane Keaton's story? Would you be willing to wait one more time if you were in it? Tell us what you think in the space below. Also, to make sure you don't miss a thing, subscribe to our station.